perspectives, and we can listen in on their comms. We heard a little bit of it during the last event, and for Team Bozos, it was very calm. And so
Mhm.
I think that's one skill set that we talked about, not at length, but it is going to be a skill set that's going to be super important when it comes to a 6v6 shooter. Being able to have a very clear voice in your shot caller, and I think Team Bozos, some of the players might be able to bring that for the squad. But taking a look at the bans, no big surprises here. Harbor City, one of the first. Oh wait, never mind.
Oh
That was
yeah,
from
maybe.
the last pick and ban phase. Let's go ahead and take a look at it in just a moment. So for Team Sucky Vacuums and Powerpuff Girls, it looks like the first bans are going to be coming in. The first one actually is going to be Quarry.
Yeah, interesting. I am not sure that we've seen too many Quarry bans in general. That's usually a little bit more of like a neutral map that's just not picked until later. So I'm a little bit curious on that one. I do expect, though, that we might see some closer maps. You know, we're talking about how we haven't seen a whole lot of Zakuto Melee, but Carl Sagan, especially, you know, in that very first Pilot Showdown tournament, was the all-star Zakuto Melee player. Just so incredible, just like an absolute team destroyer. And so I do hope that we get a chance to see that again. Again, it's a very different Zakuto Melee from back then. Still strong, but different. So we will see if we end up on maybe some more domination maps like we saw in the first set of the day. Quarry ban, though, and Ministry of Defense ban. So now we see that bans twice in a row. Again, somewhat understandable. That is a very chaotic map. We only saw it one time last month.
Yeah, and our first pick is actually going to be Harbor City, and that one's going to be picked up by Powerpuff Girls. So we did get to see, of course, GM Sniper coming in for this map. I don't believe it was a 100% pick rate from either side when we did get to see Harbor City, but we know this is one of the strongest maps, especially on point A when it comes to the initial openings. From the offensive side, you just have so many sight lines, and the long run back, if you can find that initial pick, it becomes so valuable.
Yeah, and then our second pick is going to be Mountain R&D Lab. So we're going to get some very, very opposite maps here. Maybe the closest range map in the entire game versus maybe the longest range map in the entire game, at least if you count the very first point on Harbor City. But I'm not too surprised that we're going to see the Harbor City pick coming from Team Powerpuff Girls. That's where we saw that amazing last-second clutch win from them with that huge play with the Gym Sniper like boost pad jumping over the wall. It was just so well coordinated. Still my absolute MVP play of the entire last tournament. So we know that they're very comfortable on that map. They have had a previous tournament win on this map in the series. So that's just probably a comfort pick for them. On the other side, like I said, we're going to see from Team Sucky Vacuums, I think maybe a little bit more of an aggressive build, like aggressive team comp. We'll see if that's why they're choosing Mountain R&D Lab, but we're going to see a lot today probably. And I kind of miss Flag Fort. It was our friend. It was our solid rock, you know, but we haven't seen it at all today.
Yeah, I think importantly, especially when you have like these roster swaps, is just that Flak Fort, especially on point A, if you want to try and get that defensive hold there, it is going to require a lot of communication, playing that one expertly. We saw teams, how they want to play it out on Flak Fort. It was play inside of point A, allow the opposing team, allow the offense to come in and try and pick them apart from there, really utilizing that high ground for your Pale Rider. But it took a lot of communication, having to deal with flankers, Exias coming in from so many different angles. And so I kind of can see why teams are trying to stay a little bit more away from Flak Fort right now. And we're seeing a lot more of the destruction maps. Really, when you go mano-a-mano there on the destruction maps in particular, it does really kind of prove like, hey, who's just a better team fighting team? And in our first match of the day, luckily, we were able to see two of them in a row, and it was Team Tekka that was able to take that. But for this one, Powerpuff Girls versus Team Sucky Vacuums. Like you mentioned, there were some heroics that came out from Powerpuff Girls when we got to see them in Harbor City during Halloween Havoc. But surprisingly enough, this was actually a pick for Team Sucky Vacuums. It was Powerpuff Girls actually deciding to start off on defense. So really surprising there because, yeah, I thought it was a Powerpuff Girls pick as well.
Yeah, I guess everything backwards from everything that I just said, then that is pretty surprising. But at least at the very minimum, we do know that means that both of these teams are going to be pretty comfortable on that map, which is good to see. There are a lot of teams that they really don't like that map. They're not a big fan of it. They try to just ban it out more, and they don't really take the time to learn exactly how to make all the pushes. Again, you know, for anybody who's new, again, the game is very, very new. The infamous, there's two there's two kind of infamous spots on the Harbor City map. One is the very first big angle going up to point A, and it is maybe the longest, like most open kind of area that we see. There's a few others that are kind of similar, but it is very, very infamously open, very good spot for the GM sniper, and it is one very, very long push. But then the maybe more infamous spot is there's a choke point going from point A to point B, which we'll all see. It's kind of, you have to go over a little bridge over the water, and then you have to go kind of around this turn, and that is where so many teams get stuck. So being able to have a strategy ready to just in the middle of a match be ready to make it through that point is very important. We saw at a point a lot of people were choosing Gundam Unicorn. Sometimes people make plays like Powerpuff Girls did, where they jump over the entire wall. Sometimes they'll try to flank with flyers, which is a lot more difficult in a tournament setting like this, but clearly these teams, they have some options. As we're starting up this game, I got to point out, I've been thinking so much about how much the new Gundam G maneuver is going to help with this push in particular, and I really wish we got to see it today, but of course we got to wait a few more days for that.
Yeah, very similar. Basically, like a mini Sazabi ultimate G maneuver as well. It's always funny when you see in a Gundam series whenever a mobile suit has a funnel or a bit system, right? You know that that's going to be absolutely monstrous, and it's going to be a raid boss at some point. It's always the case, and I feel like New Gundam will definitely slot in, especially as a nice mid-range offensive unit itself. So I'm really excited for that one. Also really excited for the new map. I mean, we were talking about it, Harbor City, last time around on Halloween Havoc. We mentioned how, hey, we love seeing these buildings kind of giving you the real scope and depth, and kind of putting all that into perspective of how large these Gundams actually, or mobile suits actually are. But the next one, the colony trading post, that one's going to be amazing because you're actually playing, I believe, on an actual side, on a colony, and it's going to be basically urban warfare. I can't wait for that one.
I know, me too. It's exactly what we were asking for. I was actually thinking of it as I was watching the trailer, but here we go. We're starting off on the second set of the day. We are going to see Team Sucky Vacuums going up against Powerpuff Girls, and we are currently looking at, I believe, Powerpuff Girls, or Casino, still named Casino. They confused us with a different name in the actual Metrino bracket, but Casino is MVP of a lot of those clips that we've been seeing during the breaks, and a lot of moments that we saw during the entire Halloween Havoc bracket, but we are going to see them hold with a pretty similar comp as usual. No Zakuto melee at the start here, but I believe that that's pretty, I would say expected, right? Of all the places to see Zakuto melee, this first point would not be it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think for this point in particular, Zakuto melee isn't great on A or B for the defensive side. It's a great swap off when you're trying to maybe delay on point B and you're trying to come in for staggers and pick up some few kills. You have that armor, you throw that down, you can try and delay itself, but it looks like the point has unlocked, and now here we go. Going to be the first push on out. You can see the defensive hold usually here on point A is going to be to try and fall back here. You have multiple health packs to go through. It's going to be a 1-for-1 exchange. Glitch has gone down, but he's able to take out the tank on the other side, and that might just be a worthy trade.
Yeah, that was a really strong push. They just took full advantage of the Sazabi. They do have the Gym Sniper, who is going to pick off the Exia on the side of Zyros, so that is huge. All you need is just a few picks, and oh my gosh, we got to see a little sneak peek of the Sniper right there, just right in our faces, but it does look like this push towards A is going to work extremely well. I'm not sure if we're going to see anybody from the side of Powerpuff Girls try to challenge that. You do tend to give that up pretty quickly as soon as people start getting on point. So here we go, down to this choke point, but a very strong early push from Team Sucky Vacuums.
Yeah, now they still have to worry about the constant threat of that Gym Sniper. Again, just so many units here that just cannot survive that one headshot. The only two is going to be the Dama and the Sazabi at this point. So you have to play this one expertly. Nice Molly down. We'll be able to take out one. There's a second. Listic does get res back on up, but they're still playing into a 5v6 here. Their spawns are extremely close, but I love how they're playing this. They're not over peaking. You can see the really low, the squishy units are not allowing an opportunity for the Gym Sniper to find any kind of value.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough spot. A lot of times I do see people that they really like to try and hold on to Gym Sniper for the second point until they get their ult, because the ult can be very strong here, but a lot of times we do see the instant switch off. We didn't see that yet, though.
Yeah, we do have that first peek out. Carl Sagan will go down. Focus does trade away as they go 1-for-1, but they're going to be able to get the res onto him. He was just behind cover, might have been able to use a dash there. You can see now they're going to push forward with that man advantage. Again, it might be time to swap off that gym sniper. If you're not getting initial value, as you know, in ranked and even casual play, teams are going to ask you to just swap off.
Yeah, and you know, in ranked this can work for sure. The gym sniper's still on this point, but oh wow, great shot right there. You can see that extra health from okay, we're gonna see the Scream Nimbus. You can actually knock a lot of people into the wall here, into the water. Regardless, it doesn't even matter. That's going to be essentially a full team wipe. That was disgusting.
Yeah, that was just a beautiful response. They heard the Screaming Nimbus coming in from the other side, and well, what's the response? Counter with the exact same ability. That's what happens a lot of times when it comes to these ability shooters, when you have very mirrored compositions, especially with the DOMs. You just go ahead and answer the Screaming Nimbus for the Screaming Nimbus. On the side of the Powerpuff Girls, they do still have 2 ultimate G maneuvers up, and that's going to be the the Unicorn actually popping his one down, and you can see how quickly you can pick apart the team when they're playing into those chokes. It's such a good maneuver to have there. And they'll have the, I believe, it's going to be the Trans Am available along with the Suzabi funnels ready to go for the next fight. So a beautiful hold coming out from Team Powerpuff Girls, who didn't put up much of a defense on point A, but like you mentioned, this choke point in particular is so infamous.
It is, and the synergy of the team Powerpuff Girls has been so good. They have been using 1 G maneuver at a time, or maybe, you know, 2 at max, just to kind of hold everything off. But here we go. We are going to see a pick now from the Gym Sniper, and we're going to see a huge push. They are going to push in. They're taking advantage of that. They're going to get the repick on the Dom. The Gym Sniper is going to go around the side, and this is their big push. They had so much extra time from capping that first point so quickly. They're going to be on point. They're already going to start with potentially at least 1 tick.
Yeah, they have 4 units here, but they still need that long run back to try and get back onto the point. We'll see if anyone can get onto B. No, the second tick actually comes in, but the Powerpuff Girls are here for the defense. So they'll put a stop to this for now and send them packing with only 2 ticks there. You can see they find 1 more. So they're going to be sticking with Carl Sagan on that Gym Sniper, getting a little bit more value here, but how much further can it really go? No one's on the point quite yet, so they're not accruing any more value onto this. It looks like the defense will hold for now and send them back.
Yeah, but 2 ticks is great. This is very often a point that you don't get entirely 1 push. It can be very vulnerable if you can't hold down those 2 entrances quite in time. But just 2 ticks with 3.5 minutes to go, that's still really good. And again, the defensive team is not in position to hold that choke again. So we do see a pretty quick push back through from Team Sucky Vacuums. They are going back through that left side again, right side, I guess, for the defenders. And oh my gosh, it looks like we saw the Screaming Nimbus from Casino taking out quite a few. And that is going to be at least another hold, but again, 2 people down now here. It looks like that probably at least one's going to be picked back up.
Yeah, that was just a great Screaming Nimbus. I mean, it was almost a panic G maneuver coming out from him because he was dropping low, but ultimately being able to follow up and get the rest of those kills now gets them into position back onto this choke point where they were succeeding. Again, they're not over peaking against the Gym Sniper. They're not allowing the free picks to come out, but that's going to be a nice little push coming out from Team Sucky Vacuums. You can see even this Gundam Unicorn getting chased down. You can see the power of the dueling capability of our DOMs right now. This Dom will fall, and now Carl Sagan picks up a little bit more, and now gets his team on the point. 3rd tick coming in. I don't even know if they're going to be able to touch this.
I don't know. I mean, the Suzabi is going to be on point, but it's just so hard to get an angle where you're on point and you're not just going to get hit from behind, and it doesn't look like there is a chance as round 1 is going to go all the way for Team Sucky Vacuums with only, I did say about like 2 minutes 30 left, which is pretty good for this map. Unless you're going to pull full push in like 1 single push, which is very, very rare against a good team. That is, I would say, overall pretty good. It's a pretty different map, I would say, from, for example, Flak Fort or really any of the other point maps, because you kind of expect that at a point, especially with how quick A can go, you might get the cap. So I think we're going to have to just basically see how fast, or if at all, I guess, we see the cap from Powerpuff Girls. But I think there's a really good chance that they make it.
It looks like Powerpuff Girls actually might be starting off with double sniper. They're going triple DPS. They got the Churn A Gundam along with the Pale Rider and the Gym Sniper, and Exia still locked in. So they might just try and steamroll over this first point, and I agree. You're not usually playing the neutral up against a Suzabi when it comes to point A. And so if you could just dish out extra damage, more damage than the opposing side, this is a completely valid strategy to go for this first push.
Yeah, I really like the sniper picks. I was actually surprised we didn't see a sniper pick on defense at all. We did see that come out of, I think we actually saw it out of Powerpuff Girls last month in Halloween Havoc, I think we at least saw the turn A. That was one really interesting thing. But I mean, obviously we're seeing that right now again, but we didn't see it at all on defense. We saw their very, very normal comp on defense, which it did work out pretty well. They held for a decent amount of time, but point A was not the place that they held. So we'll see if we do see a sniper on the other side. Of course, Carl Sagan was just absolutely killing it on that GM sniper. Yeah, you got to check that corner, but against a good team like this, I don't think they're going to be holding that super far forward corner. There's a sniper. We can see it.
Yeah, we can see it's going to be the same defensive hold coming out from Team Sucky Vacuums. They're holding back, not playing that initial corner, playing actually the second bend there. But right now, it's all about trying to find that initial pick. Get some headshots, take an axe to the face, and get taken down. But Maddie will be able to get res right back on in. And now they're going to start posturing. You can see the ranges that they're playing at. They don't want to play up against this zombie close range. They're going to go ahead and poke across, maybe try and get this team split up, which they successfully have, and then initially push in for the rest of this. You can see now coming into the back line, it's going to be Zacius up against Listic, and Listic ends up losing out on that fight. And so the Dom going down is huge, but he does end up getting res though throughout all of this. So they're unable to follow up and finish him off. And now you can see the turn A trying to go for that overhead throw, but the Exia is out with the extra maneuverability he has. Nice turnaround of the Zyros, but it's going to be a 1-for-1 exchange. Exia for Exia. Yeah, the long run back is going to favor the offense overall.
Yeah, that was a really nice track on that Exia, just barely clipping at the very end. We're going to see the Gym Sniper moving back a little bit. Nice. That sounded like a headshot to me. Of course, not quite able to one-shot a Suzabi and the Dom. All the high health characters just saying, hey, you know what? Let's just run at this sniper. But there's a lot of damage, and the damage adds up super, super quickly when you're on offense here. You just need to find one single pick, and you push forward really far. They've already gotten past their first choke point, so they just need to find one tiny little pick. It can either be with the sniper, with Zyros on that Exia. The Dom is in a pretty good position to potentially flank. This is all looking really good, but I really love this hold actually from Team Sucky Vacuums. They are not letting them just run on point for free.
Yeah, right now, Team Powerpuff Girls are just trying to cut off the zones, right? They forced them basically back onto only playing off of 2 health packs, one completely in the back, and then one also a little bit more forward there. But, oh, the Exia going on in. They've gotten 1 knock at least. There's a second Kaiser going down. You can see it might be time to make the swap off. They need to start fighting for the neutrals. They need something to deal and soak up some damage, so this zombie might actually have to come and play. There's a 2 minutes and 45 seconds now left for the Powerpuff Girls, but they haven't even touched point A.
Yeah, that was a huge, huge round for Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan took out 3 people in a row, and that's why I was saying I really like the sniper even on defense here. It really does work out. This is such a wide open spot, and it is clearly proving to work well. Wow, we're going to see the Screaming Nimbus come out. Oh, the overhead grab is going to connect, but they are going to be punished for it, probably trading 1-for-1. That is usually a pretty good trade, just as long as you can get rid of that shield, especially if you don't have all that much on your team that can deal with it otherwise, which they currently don't. But it wasn't enough, I don't think, to really push forward because they got picked in some other spots. So they just need to find a good, again, just one good pick, just pushing together as a team. Team Sucky Vacuums, though, they're just so good at just shooting in general. You know, as a team, it's so hard to find a good moment for them.
Yeah, they are starting to force them back. They should have the man advantage now, but Carl Sagan is the first one to fall, and that's going to be the Gym Sniper down. You can see them being slowly picked apart. G maneuvers being used from either side, but it looks like the Exia actually went out on this one. Glitchstream picking one up for himself. Legacy finds another, and that's going to be another beautiful defensive hold. This time, they do at least touch the point, but they don't even secure a tick for themselves. Time is starting to run out. We're now down to basically one final push, quite possibly, with 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining.
Yeah, this is actually a really long run for offense on this map as well. I mean, it's just long runs for everybody, but getting to this point A, it takes you a while. It's not like you're just going to respawn and just immediately be there, but here we go. We're going to see the turn A. Oh, didn't even get a chance to do anything. I didn't even get a chance to finish saying G maneuver, and it already went down. That's an issue with it on this map. Not only just this map against good teams, and that is going to be nearly a full team wipe. Focus is going to catch 2 people out, but taking down, and there's not enough people left for a push on the side of Powerpuff Girls.
Oh boy, and they just swapped. They finally make the swap on over to Suzabi, but it might be a little bit too late. They were close to the G maneuver before that swap off, and so now they're really only going to be able to rely upon the Hades And that might be enough, but we see how good Team Sucky Vacuums are about playing around these pushes. They are a team, or at least the players come from teams that are so good at being able to bend and not breaking. They allow the team to overextend themselves, and you can see when the G maneuver gets popped, there's no one available for him to actually shoot. No one has gone down. The Hades has gotten no value for them whatsoever, and that's almost the entire duration of it. Streaming Nimbus used from the other side, along with Legacy going ahead and popping those funnel bits, and that's going to be a full hold coming out from Team Sucky Vacuums, not allowing Powerpuff Girls a single opportunity basically onto that point. 4 seconds remaining, and they know it's GG.
Well, we can definitely see why Team Sucky Vacuums picked this as their first map of the day. That was a great showing. And like I said, we know Powerpuff Girls is one of our best teams and is one of our best teams at that map from just how they've played it before. So that is very surprising to see. But again, I was really curious how Team Sucky Vacuums, with this new combination roster of 3 different teams essentially, was going to work as a team themselves. I would say clearly pretty well. I think the biggest indication for me was the moment that we saw that turn A G maneuver, everybody just looked up, and all at the same time, boom, it was just immediate just coordination. And you know, we do actually have the ability this time around. We haven't used it yet, but to listen to team comms. So I'm going to try to listen to team comms in this next match, because we are of course only 1 map into this set. But this team looking as disgusting as it seemed like it was going to.
Yeah, it's going to be Mountain R&D for our next one. And we got to see Team Bozos really. They were another squad throughout the day that were just getting better and better and better as their cohesion came together, and they were getting more familiar with basically playing things out in that specific meta, which is, it looks like it is remaining to be true. It's going to be the same 6 core, right? I believe we might have had a Methus at some point for them, just to have a little extra healing over the unicorn, because of how low you can find healing on this map at some points. But overall, I mean, it was the same 6 core, other than the Gym Sniper coming in for them, which is very, very map specific, and particularly for Harbor City.
Yeah, now you know, it might be the same 6 core, but you know, going from that map where we are going to see, of course, Carl Sagan on the GM Sniper, and we're going to see a few other people on the GM Sniper, for example, like we see Casino on the, or I think it was Casino that was on the turn A. We might see a very, very different team comp, right, from both sides. So I think if we are going to see, okay, I'll put it this way: if we're not going to see Zakutu Melee today, then we're not going to see it in this map. That's going to be the decider. But if we are going to see it today, this would be definitely the time to do it, especially when you have great Zakutu players on the teams. But yeah, this is going to be a huge change of pace, of course, going into this tiny little domination map. And I'm excited to see it, because this was also another map that we saw Powerpuff Girls do very strongly in. Of course, Casino on that Dom was just absolutely key to a lot of their victories here. Dom has a lot of really good angles, especially a lot of top-down angles, if you can get this high ground really well. And Powerpuff Girls showed that they were really good at, even when they lose the high ground, fighting back for it, maybe more so than most of the other teams that we've seen. So I'm excited to see if that can continue. But this is already looking so good. Seriously, I'm very impressed, as I expected to be impressed, but I'm still very impressed by the new Team Sucky Vacuums. I almost want to call them like Team Sucky Vacuums All-Stars.
Yeah, I was expecting a little bit more, especially with the defensive hold that was coming off from Powerpuff Girls. You lose point A, you expect that. I mean, a lot of teams just kind of forego point A a lot of times when it comes to Harbor City. Their defense, though, on point B looked quite stellar. It looked like it was maybe unfortunate timing, because we saw that one fight where they were able to reestablish themselves on the choke point after utilizing the Screaming Nimbus. It just all came down to timing on that fight. I feel like if they were able to build up a few more G maneuvers after that fight, they could have actually maybe gone for the full hold and had better standing. But again, when you swap it around, the defensive hold coming out from Team Sucky Vacuums was completely different. A full 4-minute hold coming out from them on point A. Very few teams end up getting shut down like that on point A of Harbor City. And so I'm surprised. It looked like it was going to be a much closer match with how the first half started. But again, like we said, Powerpuff Girls, when it comes to their backs against the walls, they are a team that do rise to the occasion. So yeah, when we go over to Mountain R&D, they should be able to play a little bit more standard. And when we get back over to basically the neutral game for the Zazabis, that's where teams really get challenged.
Yeah. This is again, it's going to be a completely different game, so I'm very excited to see it. But we're just so used to seeing like this core group of this core set of like units, right? But we also don't know if the I guess like the new team of of Sucky vacuums is comfortable all using that same exact meta, right? Like for example, in Arizaki, I believe we saw in Halloween Havoc there was you know, like a dedicated, like more mostly dedicated Barbados player. We've seen a few teams where there's like a certain player who is specific to a certain suit, and you know, we've only seen them on this weird map so far. So there is a chance that we are going to see some sort of like double overlap or some sort of slightly different strategy in general, just because of like who the players are. And that's another thing that people are still trying to figure out in this game, right? There are a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'm really, really good at, let's say, I don't know, I'm really good at Ashimar and I'm really good at Mihiru. I don't know, I'm just making up random things. But your team already has an Ashimar player. Like, do you really want me to play? We gel, we get along together, our comms are good together. But do you really want me to sit here and just play Mihiru? You know, so like there's a lot of things where like people are trying out new suits, or you really got to figure out if somebody's going to fit on your team. Sometimes it's more worth it, right? Sometimes even if you don't have as optimal of a team comp, especially this early on with this pool of players, you're like, yeah, it's still worth it for you to be on my team because we just get along so well together and you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think in particular when we look at Powerpuff Girls, one of the big ones to note is when you go for that turn A, they're swapping off Dom players, right? But we know how strong a Dom is in compositions. But hey, it looks like we're going straight on into it. This is going to be map number 2, Team Sucky Vacuums, starting it off here as they get the knock onto Batty and onto Casino. It's going to be an outside point as well. Point C. Legacy overextends just a little bit, might create an opening here on the run back.
Yeah, we'll see if the rest of the team can take advantage of it, but it looks like we are already, yeah, C is just getting opened, and we are going to see it get picked up off the bat by, it looks like it's Team Powerpuff Girls, I'm assuming using the turn A. But again, this push, oh no, that's actually not, I'm sorry, Powerpuff Girls is not using turn A, so we're going to see Team Sucky Vacuums actually on that. I'm wondering who's going to be actually playing that. I'm looking at the kill feed right now.
Yeah, someone needs to get Casino up, but he's in such an awkward spot that you can't really, and so now they just have to wait things out as Team Sucky Vacuums just maintain position. They've got 25 seconds left to go here, and it will be a point B, so we will ultimately be able to finally see a point B here on Mountain R&D.
Yeah, after only like 7 switches, we're finally going to see point B. But I do like seeing point B because that's the time where things really get shaken up on this map. And ooh, that might be a little bit of a push right there. Too much of a push. And yeah, great tracking here from the Gundam Unicorn. It's going to take that Dom very, very low. And this is already a really strong hold here on point B. And getting a position here, of course, is going to be extremely important as well.
They've got the Ashimar punch ready for the drop down as well, but 20 seconds left to go. They're still waiting for their Sazabi to get back into point. Batty ends up going down as Glitch finds 2 himself. Actually, that's going to be a turn A, finding 1 more. So this swap off, not playing off the Methus. That's so surprising because we know when it comes to the neutral fight, to the high grounds, the Methus is so strong trying to fight for that. But it looks like it's going to be a full regroup coming out from the Powerpuff Girls. They're going to try and go for the drop down, maybe utilize this Ashimar punch to get that initial opening.
Well, they've got one big chance here. The target is going to switch in still over almost a minute, so this is a huge big push in. They're going to at least 1 pick, but they're trading 1 for 1, and this is where everybody just gets split up. We are just going to be seeing everybody go down. The Gundam Unicorn G maneuver, though, taking out 3 suits of its own, knocks on that Gundam Unicorn, and that is going to mean that it is going to be a considerably longer hold on the side of Team Sucky Vacuums. But also, noticing that Nox is on the Gundam Unicorn means that Nox is not on the Dom, which means somebody else is on the Dom. So then who's on the turn A? Who's on first? I don't know. The whole team shifted for Team Sucky Vacuums, which is really cool, and they're playing so well with it.
Trans Am and the Gundam Unicorn G maneuver are up. We'll have the Screaming Nimbus, but I mean, it's going to change on over to point A. So yeah, they're not even going to go fight for this one. They're going to try and see if they can find a pick here, have that initial high ground for themselves. We'll see how Team Sucky Vacuums decides to rotate for this one. Do they want to just go straight up from the neutral, try and play for that high ground, or will they come in from underneath, transitioning over from point B? And it looks like they will try and come from spawn, or maybe even go for flank.
Yeah, this is a very split push. I'm surprised. I'm excited to see if this works, but we've seen that this is going to be very, very difficult to... Oh, but there we go. A bunch of G maneuvers. We're going to see the Screaming Nimbus. It's going to work out. We're going to see Carl Sagan, I see, on the turn A. That makes a lot of sense, and we are going to see almost an entire team wipe with just 2 of those G maneuvers.
The beautiful thing about turn A in this one, as opposed to what we saw when it came to Harbor City, is just that you have so many different angles that you can approach from, that you have cover from, that you're not caught in that animation. You're instantly taken down to about 400 HP before you even do any damage with that ultimate. You saw instantly him getting value there, and that will be, of course, Team Sucky Vacuums taking round number 1. Now they're sitting on match point.
Yeah, with almost a perfect, really, right there, almost a flawless win. They are just looking so in control in just every single situation. Again, their team comp, they switched up a little bit, so I'm gonna have to assume there's still glitch on the Exia. Carl Sagan's playing the turn A. Listic, they still had I think they still had a Pale Rider, right? Legacy, I don't know. Honestly, I'll wait and I'll see, but I'm still trying to figure out who's playing on what, because they did switch around so much. But it's so impressive to see that they played really well in slightly different positions, but also like in a completely different map. It's very, very good sign, I would say, of good synergy.
Yeah, if we can, I mean, I know we just got straight into this match, but this was one point that where I did want to get the listen in. So when the point unlocks, I would love to join in on them. We don't see the turn A swap off coming out. It looks like for Team Powerpuff Girls, they're going to stick with this standard. But we'll see if the Ashmar can get that value, or if it's going to be the turn A on the other side for Carl Sagan. But as we start off round number 2, let's go ahead and join on board with Team Sucky Vacuums again to listen in with them.
Dumps, absolute.
I'm rearming.
Someone's one on height.
My shield's back. We can push with this.
We're up 1. We're up 2. We're up 2.
Look at Saz. Look at Saz point. Look at Saz.
Dom in the back. Just
No,
Saz
Dom one in this corner.
Saz one. Cap.
Got him. The cap.
Nice.
Look, Ash half. He's 1.
Let's
Ash
take your
one,
low,
just
okay?
hold high.
Yep.
Hold high right now. We're all good. We don't need to commit to too much here. Just hold high.
Okay.
That
All right, yeah, we could hear their comms in there. That was good to hear. I'm so glad that we get a chance to see that this time around. And they seemed pretty well coordinated. There was a little bit of talking over each other, but as soon as it got into the good moments, like there was clearly some shot calling when there was a little bit more free time. So I like to hear that.
Yeah, a lot of target basically recoordination there. Who to focus next? As you can see, that high ground fight, they're trying to play on the other side, and I like how Powerpuff Girls are approaching this. You know, it is basically what they learned from Mountain R&D, that you don't want to try and re-challenge from that low ground. It's going to be much easier for you to re-challenge on the opposing high ground. But they just don't have the G maneuvers to do it. They will have the Ashmar punch fairly shortly. It just needs to get a little bit more damage, but we're now going back on over to point C now. So swapping sides basically to the other side of the map. And here comes the rotation out now from the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, and they really need to make this count. They need to find some sort of footing, but Team Sucky Vacuums is so good at defending this high ground from this infamous spot, the other, side push, which has worked so well for the Powerpuff Girls and a few other teams over the course of the past few tournaments, the past few months. But if you can hold it well, this is exactly what happens. And now look at this. The entirety of Team Powerpuff Girls is staggered. They've got 2 people running back right now, and they just are going to have to find maybe just a different path to push in, but there aren't that many good paths here, and that could be what's so tough about this map.
Again, Team Sucky Vacuums are just so good at responding to what their opponents do. They see them trying to take this high ground, and they start unclumping, right? They're not allowing themselves to just get one shot by that Ashmar punch. Nice Trans-Am engage there. It's going to be a 2-for-2 exchange, but throughout the fray, it is going to be the Team Sucky Vacuums coming out on top. You might just get full value off this point. There's still 25 seconds left to go, but we need a full regroup now coming out from Powerpuff Girls as we swap on over to point B.
Yeah, they do have the Hades, which we've seen, of course, be potentially an entire team wiper, but oh no, this is getting really close to being a pick right here, and that's why we see these really far forward holds. Okay, really nice job to not get split up, to not take too much damage, recover what damage you take, because you really get one more big push here. They are going to have to fight for this positioning and take B and then just hold B basically for the rest of the game. They're really not going to have any more options. And they do get pretty good positioning on B, but this is going to be a corner-to-corner fight. And especially with the nice little AoE damage you can get from that Gundam Unicorn, that could be a lot. But here's the Screaming Nimbus.
Yeah, and it's coming from so far. You can see them instantly responding to this one. They get the first pick, though, on Tism, and Glitch goes down. So it looks like maybe, quite possibly, a first team fight win going on over. They still have G 3 G maneuvers. Never mind, Carl Sagan, the unseen threat with that Gundam unicorn butterfly. I imagine it was just above ground because it does. The nano bots do end up penetrating there. But ultimately, Team Sucky Vacuums will give up a few ticks there. But now it's at 96%. Gundam Unicorn G maneuver being utilized. Screaming Nimbus for that take coming out from Ballistic as well. And it looks like it's going to be another dominant map win coming out from the Powerpuff Girls. Zyrus is going to try his best to try and delay things. At 99.9%, and all it takes is one last kill. Kaiser going down, and that's going to be Team Sucky Vacuums taking a 2-0, setting the Powerpuff Girls down to the lower bracket.
What an absolute momentum killer. That turn A G maneuver, unbelievable. It was looking so good, right? We were like, okay, this is it. This is the moment. Yeah, that is a well-earned MVP, Carl Sagan. Yeah, we were like, okay, this is it. They can take B right here. They've taken down 3 different, they've taken half of Team Sucky Vacuums. They're in position. Everything's going good. And all of a sudden, it's just like tick, 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 boom. The entire team is just like dead. And it's like, where did that even come from? Like you said, all the way above. We've seen actually 2 good examples of the safe place you can use that G maneuver and the unsafe place you can use it. The unsafe place was on that A point, which they kind of had to on Harbor City, but right there, nobody can shoot you. They can't shoot through the ceiling. That would be very scary. And you could just absolutely, especially with coordination, right? If you know exactly where people are, which corner they're in, you can take out an entire team. And that is why that can be such a good suit on that map. But Team Sucky Vacuum, looking, like I said, I'm just going to repeat exactly what I said earlier, looking exactly as disgusting as it seemed like they would. And I say that as the ultimate compliment. That is a ridiculous set of all-star players.
Yeah, and all credit to Carl Sagan. He did an amazing job on turn A, but he wouldn't be able to basically do what he does without the space that's created by the other 5 players. This is a team game overall, and so it came down to just basically his team doing a great job of just not getting picked. Also being able to play around the engages that came out from the Powerpuff Girls. We mentioned it on both maps, on Harbor City and there on Mountain R&D, that they were really disciplined about not clumping when they knew a G maneuver like that was going to come up, right? When you see that turn A Gundam, they all split. They were playing split over on Harbor City defense, and they focused him down, and so he got no value off of that. When they were trying to play for the high ground there on Mountain R&D, when they knew that Ashimar G maneuver was up, they weren't going to allow him to just come in. They actually engaged before he gets value off of that. It was just beautiful play coming around from all 6 players, like you said. Just absolutely MVP roster studded right there for them. So it was a well-earned victory. They will be moving on to the winners finals.
Yeah, and we are going to see Powerpuff Girls, of course, be moving down to the losers bracket. However, they were one of the teams that really improved over time, and they got stronger throughout the tournament last time. So I think there's a very good chance that we could see them again, despite that showing right there. I mean, still they were playing well. They are still just one of our best teams. But we are going to be moving forward in the bracket. Before we do that, though, we are going to be taking another short break to set up our next 2 teams. So don't go anywhere, because we are moving further and further in this bracket for day 1 of Gundam's Grace, presented by the Gundam Evolution New Type League.